metrics for Trump to highlight. I'm not sure how Vice President Harris can defend herself on it. But what you had was, yes, there was job creation. There was a lot of backfill from the COVID lockdowns. But remember, this argument about, they took over this horrible economy. No. Third quarter of 2020, 35% growth. Fourth quarter, 4.2 growth.
Lies.
First quarter of 21, 5.2% growth. Those are huge
the right
numbers.
wing's been lying
and
on
granted,
Sky News,
they were rebound numbers. But all of the GDP that was lost during the COVID lockdown in 2020 was recovered by the first quarter of 21. To drop $4 trillion in reckless spending to create inflation while also having the hostility to the supply side, bad formula. That's why we had 9.5% inflation.
What we're looking at is the
Welcome back, Zio Duke. I'll be with you in just a few minutes. I'm going to go get...
I mean, there's a lot of spinning.
Hell of a spinning.
There's a lot of room for a lot of spinning in that.
You go do my taxes?
Room.
I'll be right back.
I just want to make the
5
point,
minutes.
actually, because it's almost, John...
Don't do drugs,
that
kids.
Trump can bring out this, were you better off, 4 years ago, and what was it, the Reagan line, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he could almost give that a run again.
Fair.
Well, he may do, but I would say when people look at the things that the Biden economy has created, yes, we've talked a lot about the job creation. Inflation has come way back down to below what it was before Trump came into office.
Not true.
When Trump came in 2016, he took over an economy that was on the way up and was doing well. So, to make it sound like he created this out of whole cloth, I think is very.
But it is a difficult balancing act, isn't it, for Kamala Harris to kind of distance herself from certain perceptions around the Biden administration and come across as someone who is, the change maker, the new fresh blood in all of this, when Trump is going to try and drag her into how the Biden administration has been perceived on this.
I do think that she's got quite a lot to offer here. So I know that Greg is dying to get in. I think we have a disagreement about inflation.
Price controls have worked really well in the past in Venezuela, Soviet Union. I mean, I don't think that's something that she can run with. She's got to be careful about that. And I would, when she announced that a few weeks ago, it was the first time she'd announced a policy.
Does she really mean price?
Even the Washington Post.
In the sense that
I think we talked a little bit about that. The things that she's proposing are things that states are already using. More than 37 states are using these kind of controls that say you can't abuse the consumer in a time of crisis when the supply chain has been upset or that kind of thing. So they're very modest proposals.
Those some good taxes.
Yeah, I mean, grocery stores have 2% margins right now, so I don't know where she's going to find price controls or executing those practically. But I think that the point is
no one going to talk about how Donald Trump represents American fascism? We're just ignoring that, huh?
Vice President Harris, but he's still leading by 10+ points.
We got a horse race. He's leading. He's ahead. This is like the second or third guy
and I think on
that looks like this. By the way, looks like motherfucking Gordon Gekko over here. Yeah, Trump's gonna win. Yeah, Trump's winner. Trump.
I do think.
Welcome back, Snowmobile Pro, Borderline Feline, Clutch Cargo, Zio Duke. You guys are ready for the debate. I'm ready. Okay, I'm done with Gordon Gekko. Let's see. Hopefully, we can get some Chuck Todd. That's what I'm hoping. Oh, look, there's me.
We'll find another one.
I want to get some Chuck Todd. I don't know what I will do with myself if I don't hear the opinions of Chuck Todd. I got to know what's going on here. Wow, look at everyone streaming. This is the event. This is the political event. Oh my God! Wait a minute. 1 hour? I thought it was 15 minutes from now. Will you debate today? I'll debate. I'll debate. Look, I mean, it's like, I know when people come in here, I want to debate you. I get really, it's just like, I want to have an actual debate. I don't want to sit in a Brady Bunch panel. I'm a postage stamp on the bottom left. I got to try to make my case with a bunch of other fucking yahoos. Borderline feline. I want to make that joke every time. I really do. I just want to make that joke every single time. Probably not debating tonight, but I'm definitely typing one-handed. Oh, disgusting. I try edging. Oh my God, guys, can you guys go have actual sex, please? My God, it's so obvious you're all virgins who've never had sex. Anyway, okay, all right. We have an hour. I clean it up. You better. Why it stinks in there. I had sex yesterday, but none today. No, you didn't. Motherfucking body pillow doesn't count, dog. Oh! No, I'm kidding. I'm sure all of you get laid. Talking about getting laid. Okay, I had to buy this. I'm a fan. You know, I'm a fan of the man. I'm a fan of the main man, Beetlejuice. I love me some Beetlejuice. Okay, debate rules. First one to whip their cock out loses. All right, I'm a fan of Beetlejuice. I love the movie. I love the cartoon. I love the character. I have a picture. There's a picture of me holding Beetlejuice at Universal Studios. He was like creeping on a bunch of women like Beetlejuice was. So I thought it'd be funny to creep on him. So I was like hitting on him, kind of like he was hitting on the girls. It was really great. I made Beetlejuice awkward. It was awesome. How we gays be doing? So anyway, when I saw this, okay, it's going to be kind of hard to see. Hold on. Hold on. We got to do something. Hold on here. I got to show you. Okay, that's the color correction. Where's my, hold on. No, we want that. Hold on. One sec. So when I saw this, I had to buy it. Here we go. When I saw this, I had to buy it. Okay? Fanta, let it focus here. He can get his mug. They're so lazy about it. Like, this is literally just the picture off the poster. Can you see it? God, man, great camera, bro. Good camera, bro. Anyway, you get the point. Focus. Focus, you piece of shit. Anyway. It's fucking junk. It can't focus, dude. It can't focus on the main man. It can't focus. Focus on the main man. There we go. Hold on. All right. So we got Fanta Haunted Apple. Okay. Beetlejuice. It's a cool bottle. It's like a black bottle. Okay. It's supposed to be a sparkling flavored beverage, naturally flavored sparkling beverage, and the flavor is haunted apple. Okay. Dude got the fancy fan. I bought it used. I kid you not. Okay, I am not exaggerating when I say this is the most disgusting thing you can buy and put into your body. Garbage Fuel has nothing on this. I'm holding on to a bottle. I'm going to send it to the people at Garbage Fuel, and I'm going to say, you need to. This is the flavor. Okay, I am not exaggerating. If you see this on the shelf, buy it and take a swig, and then return it and say, I think it's rotten. I think it's spoiled. I'm not exaggerating. This is disgusting. This is utterly disgusting. Oh, it's like spiced apple. It's like a spiced apple thing. No, it's not spooky. It's disgusting. Practical joke. This is a great practical joke soda, right? Hey, you want some apple juice? Or hey, you want some greens? You want some lime soda? I got some lime soda, bro. It is utterly disgusting. Right, you got it. Shut the hell up, Zeo Duke. I'm trying to do a bit here. Oh. Okay, so I'll just be taking sips when I need to feel something. I'll be taking sips of this disgusting concoction. Yeah, I thought Garbage Fuel was bad. I really did. I thought that shit, it's literally garbage juice straight from a dumpster. But I've had some good garbage fuels. juice. What am I calling? Garbage fuels. I've had some good ones. I got a garbage fuel one time. It was outside of a Krispy Kreme donut. That shit tasted like a fucking apple fritter. Delicious. Hey, I think they're robbing your branding. No, I'm telling you, I might have to do some lawsuits, man. If I'm not suing these fuckers, I'm copying them. Because there's nothing more disgusting than this product on shelves right now, and that kind of bothers me. We gotta get on that. All right, let's see what CBS is up to. All right, let's get back to the actual fucking skibbity toilet. let's get to the skibbity, guys. Oh, that's distracting. Hold on, let me. Skibbity. How's the song go? Skibbity, skibbity,
lots of sizzle,
skibbity,
lots of energy,
toilet.
lots of volunteers.
I like pooping on the
But a
skibbity
good portion of the
toilet,
American
something like
public
that,
in the
right?
battleground states, according to our surveys and other surveys, want to know more.
Right. That's
What
what
is
the
your
kids are
vision?
singing.
How does it relate to my life? How is it going to improve my life? What's your
My
explanation for things I'm unhappy with, whether that's inflation, immigration, crime, or something else? And who are you? All of those things are going to come up tonight in a
Who the hell are
fresh
you?
new way, because this is the first time, and as we just said earlier, possibly the only time
You do
you're
you,
going to
boo.
see this one-on-one
I like
clash
that saying,
of
Anna
visions,
Kasparian.
records, and rhetoric. And when there needs to be
Greetings from south
fact-checking
of
for either
Boston. It's your
candidate,
boy Lenny, the
myself
number
and the
one
CBS News
streamer
confirmed
in the
team will be there
universe.
in service to our viewers.
Who the hell are you? I've been watching CBS News my whole life. I don't know any of these people still. Suzanne Sawyer, is that one of them? Zoomer pill today. We're rizzing up the voters. You fucking know it's an absolute Geit Ohio Riz debate to decide who will be the top grunk. So skibbity your ass on over here. Generic. You are a tough cookie. You are a tough cookie. Why don't you go to the stream where they know what they're doing? Go to Hassan.com. Check out Bosch.com, Bosch TV. Let's see what's going on with your boy Bosch. All right, let's see what's he up to. God, gotta say, his room is really, it's kind of feminine. All right, he's a metrosexual. What can
it's
you
like,
do?
all
Strap
culture
in
is
for the
produced
debate.
there.
Who's gonna win? Oh my God!
What about Texas, Austin,
Kamala?
Houston,
I think Kamala's gonna win it.
Dallas, Tennessee, Nashville?
All right. Good stuff, Vosh. Hell yeah, you're killing it. This broke me. Me too, Vosh. Okay, how do I remove this? Okay, I just click the X and that removes that from my search. Let me just go on over to my history. And get rid of that. Yeah. Go. All right. They have a formula for the presenters. I'm so, it sucks, dude. Does it even need to be said how bad these fucking people are? How much it sucks? Okay, that's Sky. Is this NBC? No, that's CBS. Here's NBC.
We will make America great again.
When we fight, we win!
Heck yeah. How pathetic is it, huh? That the neoliberals are 50 with an overt fascist who's literally talking about, my immigration policies are going to be bloody. It's going to be a bloody, bloody time when I implement my mass deportation. Vote for me. Okay. Latino vote higher than ever it's ever been for Trump. I like the deportation guy. Okay, I'm legal, I think. I hope. Hope they don't do a little switcheroo on me, reclassify me and whatnot. You're not a real American.
Mr. Trump skipped President Biden's inauguration.
Well, this will be Trump's seventh appearance in a general election presidential debate and Harris's first. And with election day less than 2 months away now, tonight's debate could shake up a very
I'm sorry, I'm being really annoying. They really do love their little slogans.
She's been preparing for days with mock debates in Pittsburgh, complete with stage and TV lighting, along with the same.
You know what MSNBC won't talk about? The Lenny streams. You need to check them out Monday and Tuesday. They're absolutely banging. I've been going through a lot of bullshit. I actually have a funeral to go to in a couple days. Having a good time, folks. So I missed the streams. I'm sorry, Lenny. But, you know, hey, you guys might be lucky. Might get a hotel stream. Might get an Airbnb stream. You know, if there's a crawl space at the Airbnb that I stay at, I promise I'll get in the crawl space. You know, this really tight, dark space in some stranger's home. And then I'll do the stream from there. Like some homeless man that got stuck in the attic.
Cliche, it may, and that's why this is so critical tonight, because you look at the
Lenny,
viewership, first of all, tens of millions of people may be watching. We talk about the convention being these moments for primetime, high-profile viewership. Twice as many people watched that first presidential debate when it was President Biden up against former President Trump back in June. So we are talking maybe upwards of 50 million people coming out and watching this. And about 3 in 10 Americans, according to the polling, say that what happens tonight could make a difference in how their decision-making goes for the vote come November. 3 in 10 Americans also say they need to learn.
The only legitimate conversation to be having right now is, wow, holy shit. Why is this 50-50? What are the neoliberals doing wrong? What is this party doing wrong? Where 50% of the voting population can't are still going with an overt fascist who is promising an authoritarian dictatorship, the likes of which America has never seen. You're in the shot. Get the fuck out of the shot. The likes of which this country has never seen before, right? That's the only conversation to be had. And I guarantee you, not a single solitary sentence will be uttered about that. I guess maybe if we can find some right-wing streams. Maybe if we can find some right-wing streams.
If needed. There's also an argument that, boy, having those mics needed allows former President Donald Trump, who sometimes likes to have some crosstalk, say some things under his breath, to look a bit more presidential. Yeah. So the question tonight, I think, about optics, but also substance. Former President Trump, will he engage in personal attacks? His allies are urging him to stay.
Oh, they're eating it up, aren't they?
On policy.
They're fucking eating it up. They love this shit. Eating sloppy. These multi-billion-dollar media organizations, right? Eating sloppy out of the trough. Oh, man. We might see some of these big dogs fold straight up after Trump. They're so dependent on Trump and Trump stories in this election that once people are like, they're going to be so exhausted, they're going to turn this shit off. They won't even have the patience for Good Morning America. The ratings are just going to crater.
Before and after the debate, Tom set the scene for us.
Hey, good evening, Savannah. Yeah, we are in the spin room right here, where tonight the campaigns will burst in here, declaring.
Yeah, we unironically call it that now. I know. Yeah, it's kind of shameful, but, you know, whatever.
Biden took some time to enter after that disastrous debate as the campaign went into damage control in Atlanta about 11 weeks ago. We hope to see some of the biggest surrogates, maybe campaign managers, maybe the candidates themselves. You never know. The debate is being held, as you mentioned, at the National Constitution Center. It's just across from Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell here in Philadelphia, of course, in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. So let's take you inside the debate hall now. And
I'm losing my fucking mind. I don't fucking care. Do you care? I guess. Does anyone care?
So this is your traditional one-on-one presidential debate, right? Both candidates standing. Former President Trump will be on the left side of your screen, Vice President Harris on the right side. We'll explain why in just a moment.
Yeah, no, this is a much better use of time than having the debate that I was talking about earlier. Was that CG, by the way? Was that fucking CG? Okay, it wasn't. Okay, good. Because I'm like, these things are physically there. Okay, it wasn't CG. Thank God. Up, Kamala on the right. Got her. She's toast. Let's see what Sky News, how much shit Sky News is talking.
Here, but there are still many.
Like super right wing Sky News, dude.
Despite the fact that she is the sitting vice president, they don't really know what she stands for.
See what I mean?
and how she can present change when she is the
Every
continuity
person has been saying
candidate, when
this.
she is aligned to everything that President Biden stands for. So I think that will be a challenge for her tonight, to present
Yeah, if you
herself
say
not
so.
as the continuity,
What does
but as
Elon
the change,
have to do with
but
this?
also
Why is
to
Elon in the
continue
thumbnail?
the positives that she would
Can
see
we leave him out of
in
this
the
one?
legacy of the Biden administration. So policy is
Why?
going to be
Why is
absolutely
Elon
key
in the
tonight. The
thumbnail?
other question, though, Mark, is which
Why
Donald
is
Trump
Elon in the
shows up
thumbnails?
tonight? Is it the
He's just in the center.
combative character that we have all got
I'm
so
going to own the whole world
used
one
to
day.
over the course of
You're gonna have to.
many
I'm going
years
to be the
now?
dictator
Or
for the
is
world.
it a more reserved Donald Trump? Maybe
Why
the
is he
sort
in
of
the
guy that we
thumbnails?
saw in that debate a few weeks ago, which was so
Getting frisky?
disastrous for Joe
Oh
Biden.
my
Remember,
God.
Donald Trump really didn't have to goad Joe Biden at all. Joe Biden destroyed himself in that disastrous performance. If
Okay.
he comes to this
Okay,
debate
honey, we
tonight
get
in
it.
an hour's time with that same persona, not
Yo,
the combative
BTC,
Donald Trump
fuck
that
you.
we're used to, then maybe
No,
that
I'm
will
kidding.
be a
You're
struggle
all right.
for Kamala Harris.
You're an
what
annoying
I think he will need
sellout,
to
but
do
you're not that bad.
is build on what he's already been doing to portray her as far left. It is true that over her journey as a politician,
Sagar.
he has said
Sagar and Janetti and JD Vance are like two peas in a pod. They're like bros. They hang out. He was a big proponent of JD Vance. And how successful has JD Vance been? Right? Tells you everything about the guy. Like his dude, right? His number one guy is JD Vance, Sagar and Janetti. Clown world, dude.
This is the moment.
He's
where
such
it
a
became clear to
right-wing
the
hack.
American public that the Kamala Harris of 2019, the Kamala Harris that was
Where's
literally
your boy
less popular
Kyle?
than Dick Cheney a few months ago,
Yeah, Dick Cheney.
is still that Kamala Harris, even with all of the hype. Now, I mean, listen, the polls are so close. As Harry Enton has said on CNN, that if you correct
Where's
for
your
the
boy Kyle?
polling bias in 16 and 20, you have a dead heat right now. Like Kamala is up 1 in the RCP average, but if you correct for those, you're probably at a dead heat.
Where
So
you
it's
at, Kyle?
anybody's game. But I could see, because she's been on the sugar high, this being the moment where we look back and we say, that's where the air started
Nice
being let
thumbnail.
out of the balloon.
I can see that. I do think she could have a breakout performance, though. But what I mean is that it wouldn't lock the election for her. It wouldn't cinch it. Like nothing at this point, I think, can cinch it for her.
Yeah.
I kind of expect her to do pretty well. Like,
What's your bar for pretty well? Like, what does that mean?
He took that shit off
at
immediately.
least
Do you notice that,
2
Ice King?
Performative, memorized zingers, like some riffs.
Yes.
Where she really
Yeah,
lands
Clutch
them.
Cargo.
That little
Yeah.
girl.
that little girl.
Version for Trump, whatever that is.
I mean, if we remember the mic rules from the debate with Joe Biden, it actually ended up benefiting Trump. He was never cut off. It all worked for him.
There are.
And I'll be Biden.
They're starting in 50
a
minutes.
couple of zingers back, and only like, let's say, 3 word salad kind of moments where you're like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on there? Which
Wow.
will be helped by the fact that Trump will be spewing out word salad, weird segues from like
Constantly.
wind
Right.
to like
Man,
Hannibal
Crystal
Lecter to
looking
tax
good.
policy.
Right.
And, and it covers
Oh,
up
it's a
some-
question.
yeah.
That Trump shows up, though.
Well, that is an important point,
Watch
though,
in the morning.
because
Have a good night,
the
Leon.
Debate, the last debate, the infamous debate in which Biden couldn't finish the Senate, is so painful, and he ends
It
up
was
dropping out.
so painful.
Trump basically didn't get any scrutiny for understandable reasons,
Right.
because Biden was just such a catastrophe.
That's right.
If you go back and listen to his answers, it's
Night,
not
night,
like they were
Leon.
crisp, right? The last time Trump
Give Keir
really
Starmer a
had,
kick
like,
in the booty
wow
for me.
kind of a debate
Kick in the
performance,
bollocks.
it was 2016. That was a long time ago, especially when you're an old dude. So, there's a risk for him as well that now, without the stunning contrast of Biden,
Okay, I need
whose
a hit.
decline has been so evident and is so undeniable, that people also see him with fresh eyes and are like, he's kind of lost a step as well. So
I think that happened in 2020, by the way.
I do think I think that is true, especially with, not so much with his performance, but he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of where people are the way that he really did in 2016. And that happens with any president. Like, you are literally in a bubble, I guess, figurative, whatever. Anyway, you're in a bubble, right? You're not talking to regular people. And he's a little adrift in this, like, online world. I get it.
He got kicked off Twitter.
He got kicked off Twitter,
Can't
so he
even check
doesn't
his
have
mentions.
right. He doesn't have.
He's back. He's back, dork.
Came back on. He doesn't really post there the way he used to.
He missed
so.
some important years.
Yeah. He's not doing rallies. That's the other thing, is he's not doing nearly
Yeah,
as many
he's
rallies.
been-
And that was an
Trump has
important way
been
for him
kind
to
of
workshop messages
sulking in
and
his-
get a
in
sense
his
of what
little
works in a crowd and what
golf
doesn't.
cave.
So I think the Harris strategy.
He's got piles of golf balls like Smog. Get away from my golf balls. Make America great again.
Of what they don't like about him, some of his worst traits and qualities.
Truth Social is a
sometimes
joke.
Really can't help himself.
It's called
he
Truth.
Reportedly
I love it.
has a
I
lot
love
of
it.
disdain and contempt for Kamala.
That's what I love most about Truth Social, right? They put that truth, that big truth logo on every single thing, right? So it's like truth, truth, truth. And it really couldn't be farther from the truth. It is one of the most Orwellian things I think I've seen in my life. Truth, 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 you know, and then it's just a cavalcade of lies and grifters and bad actors and Nazis and pedophiles, and it's really something else. It's a complete perversion of the term.
Trump, but aren't in her camp yet, who are telling pollsters, we want to know more. And so she does have an opening here to, you know, make a pitch,
changed his name to
lean
Trump. You
into
talking
the
to me?
very popular
Who
policy
did that?
pieces that she's laid out.
Someone changed her
hold
name to
up
Trump?
well enough against Trump to sort of prove that she's up to the job.
Oh, boy.
And make up a little bit of ground in a way
God.
that ends up being sustainable.
I think that's
Okay, I want to hear what this clown has to say.
Latest forecast up on the screen, please. And if we take a look there, I mean, things quite literally in a dead heat in terms of the polling average.
Well,
now, you may think,
not quite
wait,
literally.
you mean Kamala's up, right? Because they have it at 48.9
No, it's margin
and
of
then
error.
46.6. But the problem is that the electoral college forecast
Yeah.
is such that she needs to win significantly more by that to actually retain any chance
Kennedy
of winning
dropping
the
out
electoral college. So
gave
the
Harris
latest
a
one that he
bump.
just put out 4 hours ago has a 61% chance of Trump winning the electoral college probability and 38% chance there
Kennedy.
for Kamala. So Kamala's slightly
see on
higher
this chart.
than where Trump was going into
Fuck you,
2016. If we look at the predicted
report, you
popular vote
decide.
share, Nate has it at 49.9 to Trump's 49. I mean, 0.9% increase there is just not going to cut it.
Yeah, I mean, coming from the source, you know, coming from isolated as a slogan, it's really good. But yeah, no, coming because it was related to Fox News. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, totally Orwellian. Absolutely.
In a very real way, go all Kamala or all the way against Trump. There is a possibility of a mix and match, which I find really interesting. Perhaps we can talk about too.
Oh, God. Okay, anyway. Sagar is a smart fascist. Sagar is definitely, you know, one of the smart conservatives. You know, I could see him aligning himself with Matt Gaetz, or a Mike Johnson. You know, once J.D. Vance crash and burns. Exciting primary debate moments from history. Here we go. This is way more entertaining. This is what I watch in my free time, guys. This is it. This is my life.
The jeers. The cheers.
Here we go.
The laughs.
I appreciate that.
And gasps. As we approach CNN's Republican debates, we decided to look back at some of history's most exciting primary debate moments. We start back in 1980, when Ronald Reagan essentially catapulted himself into the nomination with this defiant remark.
What a night.
Would the sound man please turn Mr. Reagan's mic off for a minute? I am paying for this microphone, Mr. Speaker.
He was funding the debate with his campaign money to try to include all the candidates. Of course, he went on to win the New Hampshire primary and the presidency.
Was that Jimmy Carter? Who was that telling him to turn his mic off? He stands up. What are you going to do? Punch me?
In 1992, Jerry Brown and Bill Clinton got into a spat on the stage.
He is funneling money to his wife's law firm for state business. That's number one. I don't.
The Clintons are so fucking corrupted. It would actually make you fucking puke if you looked it up.
Care what you say about me, but you ought to be ashamed of yourself for jumping on my wife. You're not worth being on the same platform. I'll tell you something, Mr. Clinton. Don't try.
You should have stayed on your wife. Hey-oh, get him. Blowjob jokes.
Try to escape it.
George W. Bush and John McCain argued about negative ads in a 2000 CNN debate.
This is an attack piece.
Was that Larry King? Man, can we resurrect Larry King? That I don't know. He would either be really, really good. I should watch this debate. He would either be a really, really good moderator or actually a really terrible moderator because he's such a star fucker. That is such a wild thing to see Larry King fucking moderating a presidential debate. That is fucking wild.
That is not.
Argued about negative ads in a 2000 CNN debate.
This is an attack piece.
That is not by my campaign.
What says paid for?
Oh, George Bush criticizing another politician for doing dirty politics. Just shitting. Whoa, you look how negative this is. You're such a negative Nancy. I would never stoop to that level.
Or by John McCain.
It is not by my campaign.
And who can forget when Hillary Clinton was asked about her likability in 2008?
What can you say to the voters of New Hampshire on this stage tonight
Yeah,
who
Howard Dean,
see your resume
big
and
room.
like it, but are hesitating on the
Yeah,
likability
face of his
issue,
father.
where they seem to
He's the
like
face of Dick
Barack
Cheney.
Obama more?
Well, that hurts my feelings.
Oh, you were absolutely terrible. Oh, the United States political universe became better when you left, Hillary.
I'm sorry, Senator. I'm sorry.
I don't think I'm that bad.
You're likable enough.
Thank you so much.
Former Texas Governor Rick Perry would surely like to have this moment back
Oh, no.
from 2012.
Remember this charlatan trying to pretend like he was smart? Then he put glasses on?
It's 3 agencies of government when I get there that are gone. Commerce, education, and the, what's the third one there? Let's see. I can't. The third one I can't. Sorry. Oops.
And then, of course, the Fox News Republican debate from just last month.
I feel so bad, though, because I've done that a million times, right? But it's, that was go time. That was the moment to hit it. And that really did kill. There was a little momentum for this guy, and that really did just completely ice it.
Oops.
And then, of course, the Fox News Republican debate from just last month. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie argued with Senator Rand Paul over the government's mass collection of personal communications.
When you're sitting in a subcommittee just blowing hot air about this, you can say things like that.
I don't trust President Obama.
Let's be real about Chris Christie. He's a hot air blower, supreme. But Rand Paul is a special level scumbag. Rand Paul is a whole other level of dishonest, and I say that. I say that, you kind of being a fan of his father a little bit, having at least a little respect for his father, Ron Paul. But this is one of the slimiest characters in U.S. politics, man. I'm telling you, out both sides of his mouth.
Just blowing hot air about this, you can say things like that.
I don't trust President Obama with our records. I know you gave him a big hug, and if you want to give him a big hug again, go right ahead.
And this moment needs no introduction.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
With this roster of candidates on stage again.
He used to really rag on Rosie. A lot of people ragged on Rosie. She was quite unbearable.
Again, you can expect some more fireworks.
Big room. No
CNN,
comment.
New York.
Well, that was fun. That was really fun. They should do this more. They should do more of these. This was from 8 years ago. That was fun. That was a good time. All right, let's get back to the present. This is a new guy. Let's see how much he's ragging on the fucking Democrats.
Well, I don't know that I said he was more disciplined. He certainly has had a couple debates where he hasn't done great. In the 2020 election, he definitely had a subpar performance.
Talking about Trump.
Overall, I don't know that you've seen a lot of better debaters. I mean, had he not done well in 2016 in the Republican primary?
Oh, I literally just read an article that went over how bad Donald Trump actually is at debates. So it's actually hilarious that this guy's like, he's actually really, really good at it. Let's hear more of this. Hold on, let me back it up.
I mean, had he not done well in 2016 in the Republican primary and demolished the field, he wouldn't have risen to the top had he been a mediocre debater. I mean, he rose to the top on his debate performances. And nobody in American history has blown somebody out of a campaign from a debate.
It's so fucked up. You know why? Because he was up against Ted Cruz and fucking Jeb Bush. He was up against some of the most mediocre and pathetic characters in U.S. politics, okay? He stood out like a sore thumb because he was the only one willing to talk shit. Everyone else was like, oh, well, I guess maybe I do have a small dick, Donald, but I have the big politics. I mean, it was just pathetic. That doesn't make him a master debater, you clown. Man, Sky News is just clowning it up, dude. Every single commentator.
Performance like he just did to Joe Biden. So I think if he doesn't lose it, if he sticks to policy, he's going to do great.
Is your guy.
And that's her big weakness. Are
he
the policies
completely lose his
high
fucking
inflation,
mind.
out of control border, and national security disasters. And she's going to have a tough time explaining that. Not to mention, she's been all over the map.
I guess so for the debate.
Issues from tax policy to criminal justice.
One second. Let me see what I can do for you here.
It's a difficult position for her to be in because she doesn't have a record here of a consistent record, and she hasn't been exposed to the American people the way Donald Trump has been.
Yeah, certainly her advisors are telling her not to chase every attack if he does go on the attack, which we are expecting him to do so. But Joe, I just want to show our viewers these live images that are coming in from just a few blocks away from the convention center where we're expecting the debate to take place this evening. We're seeing a group of pro-Palestinian protesters. They've gathered outside of Philadelphia's City Hall, and they, at present, we're being told there's police there at the moment, and everything does appear to be peaceful. But we're also told that these demonstrators are holding signs reading "Abandon Harris," for example. I mean, this is a contentious issue, the war in the Middle East. I spoke to the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken today. This has become part of the Biden administration's legacy, but do you expect these foreign policy issues to be discussed and debated this evening as well?
Well, I think I hope so. I think the American people deserve a discussion of foreign policy. The world was in a much better place when Donald Trump was in office. Russia invaded Ukraine under Biden's watch, Biden-Harris watch, and of course the Middle East erupted. And we are not in a safe, stable environment. We've, a number of Americans are from all walks of life are concerned about international affairs and some of these foreign policies crises spiraling completely out of control. I mean, we're witnessing some real tragedies in the Middle East and in Europe, and a colossal loss of life. And how Kamala Harris explains to the American people how she's going to get the world out of this predicament and navigate it. I think the American people deserve to hear that.
Well, maybe we can pick up some of those thoughts with our guests in the studio here in just a moment. But Joe Grogan, appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Wait, is his name really Joe Gogan? Gorgon?
Time for
what the fuck did he say?
Break.
What's his name?
But Joe Grogan, appreciate.
Holy shit! His fucking name is actually Joe Grogan.
I thought that was a joke. You very.
Well, he is a joke. Wow, his name is Joe Grogan.
Carolina, all fast-growing, diverse states. And then in the upper Midwest, we've got Michigan, Wisconsin, and where the debate's being held in Pennsylvania. Now, you want to see just how tight these are? I'll show you some of our latest polls.
You fucking know I do.
Dead even. It's 50-50.
That's the way I like it, baby.
In Michigan, it's a 1-point difference. That's within the margin of...
I'm just making a joke. I'm actually utterly terrified that Harris is going to lose this.
And in the margin of error, those are examples of what we mean by razor tight.
Never showered.
How does this play out then on election night?
I showered every day.
We're going to take a look
at what
we call the paths to victory for each of the candidates. So I'm going to bring up
Where
that
are
map.
you, man?
And the states you're going to see in red.
Are you a puppet from the movie Puppet Master? Where are we? What is this?
Those are in gray. So we can play a little hypothetical game here. Let's start with
Pennsylvania. Are we playing a game?
And let's say, okay, Democrats won it last time. Let's suppose Harris can hold it.
This is such nonsense. This is such bollocks. I should literally just be playing Pong or something. This is just speculation.
So hold the state.
I mean, what? Your brain has to be oatmeal to be sitting through this and be entertained by it.
I'm going to put Wisconsin in there.
Could you imagine if you saw this shit in sports, John Madden, pregame? Well, if they get more points over here, they're going to win. But if they don't get enough, I guess they kind of do that. But this is just, I don't know.
She flips North Carolina.
It's a little silly. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. I think maybe I'm wrong.
She keeps Georgia in the Democratic column, which Joe Biden narrowly won. and then goes out west and holds on to Arizona and also holds on to
totally the same as
Nevada.
pregame. Yeah, okay.
Also
I don't watch a lot of sports. Welcome back, Woke Patriot.
275. Now for Trump, and this shows you also.
Just one alien, just one fucking CG alien run across the screen, please.
Pennsylvania, let's suppose, like he did in 2016.
It would actually go viral if they did it just once and didn't say anything, and it just happened once, like an alien. An alien peeks his head out real quick.
Georgia,
and then just disappears. They don't say a single thing,
Trump
and it just happens.
270.
It would go viral.
Those are just some of the scenarios that could play out. But the big story is, in a race this close, every vote, every state.
Wow. So if Donald Trump wins more in electoral swing states in the Electoral College, he's going to win. But if he doesn't win, then Kamala Harris is going to win. Did I do it? No, I'm sorry, wrong button. Did I do it? Yeah, I did it. All right. Where's my big fat media check? This guy's been on TV longer than I've been alive. I don't know where I was going with
During this 2024 campaign, in blue, that's where the Democratic ticket has gone. Red, that's where the Republican's gone. The gray blob, I told you I love the blobs.
Gray blob.
Both.
Both. Okay.
Guess what, folks? All the blobs are in the battleground states.
Whoa.
Hello, that's exactly right. Look at the blobbiest state of all. No disrespect, Pennsylvania. God love you, the Commonwealth. More blobs than anyone else. Republicans and Democrats are going to...
All terrible, annoying joking aside, and I apologize. This is probably going... It looks like right now the closest election in American history, which is really quite telling. It's telling about the America... The hell was that? Okay, hold on. It's just it's a telling thing. It's about the neoliberals and the Republicans. It's a very telling thing.
They're also indicative of offices for the campaigns, volunteers, door knocking, all of the fundamentals in campaigns. So wherever you see blobs, that's where the campaigns are most active. And a word of warning. If you're an undecided voter in any of these blob states, to use a football term, have your head on a swivel. You are likely to be tackled walking into the grocery store by one of these two campaigns.
It's an excellent point. And of those 7 battleground states, Trump only won North Carolina in the last election. So it's a competitive again this year, but leans Republican at this point. But
narrowly, very narrowly.
Very narrowly. Major Garrett, thank you so much. Let's turn to another big policy issue this election cycle, and that is reproductive rights. The issue of abortion kept Democrats competitive in the 2022 midterms, and it is helping boost Vice President Harris today. Take a look at this new CBS News poll. It finds Harris leads Trump.
Oh my God, someone was in my garage. They held me at gunpoint, and they said I needed to smoke marijuana or they were going to kill me. So I smoked one marijuana. I'm sorry.
Vote. Those are the 3 states that you will hear us refer to as the blue wall that Democrats have to win in order to win the presidency.
I am not okay.
What about this issue of reproductive rights and abortion rights that Kamala Harris is likely going to hammer Donald Trump on tonight?
She will, because even before she was the nominee, it was Vice President Harris's job to prosecute this part of the case. The abortion issue is something Joe Biden said he personally felt comfortable discussing.
I did.
So she was the one on the college campuses out there talking and trying to rally support for people concerned about access to all sorts of reproductive health care. We know that in 9 to 10 states...
Boy, wouldn't that be something if Harris doesn't... If Harris wins and then, her first 4 years, she doesn't codify Roe v. Wade into law, that would really be something. Barack Obama was able to fix the crack laws, which was one of the most racist things in America, was how white people could be convicted for less amount. Yeah, so they would get less time for more coke, right? So they'd have like a couple baggies of coke. But if you were a black guy, if you were smoking crack, it wasn't the problem was that the black people were more likely to smoke crack than they were coke. But I'm butchering this, but basically you get more time if you have basically the same amount of cocaine, but you get more time if it's been cooked into crack. And, of course, black people were more likely to have crack on them. So Barack Obama did change that. Good one. That was a good one. Good commentary. Trump risks alienating women even more than he already has. Doesn't seem to matter. But, so the polls right now are showing 50-50. Let's do some actual political discussion here. The polls were actually showing 50-50. But, one of the phenomenons we saw with Trump was that there were a lot of people last time. There were a lot of people that voted Trump. But then when they asked, who do you vote for? They said they didn't really reveal that. They were kind of ashamed. I think we're going to see that, but in the reverse. I think we're going to see a lot of people that are like, like their buddies and their friends are, they're still trying to hold on to the dream, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, I'm still on the Trump train, and I still believe. But I think when they get in there, especially women, I think women are going to do this. They're going to be lying to their husbands by the millions, and I think women are going to be voting for Kamala Harris. She doesn't have the Hillary Clinton baggage, that made her so repulsive to women, like Hillary Clinton did, like Hillary Clinton was. Deep state, but her emails crowd.
Out on this debate stage, how she can both embrace part of.
I just can't listen to Psaki. It really is indicative of the entire corporate media apparatus, how the failure of the corporate media apparatus, that she's even sitting here. I mean, this is the revolving door writ large. This is corruption iconified in a human being. You know what I mean? The fact that she sits there, supposedly media. What the fuck is happening? I'm hearing slams. Homie's coming, going. 1 second.
Need to be ratcheted up any higher? I actually think the biggest challenge for her is that she's never met him before or interacted with him before. And she is a studious, thorough prepper, which I think is good no matter what political party you're from. That's a good thing. But it also means you have to let go of those briefing books and be in the moment. Donald Trump is not a standard, traditional.
I don't know. Someone's raising hell somewhere. I don't know what's going on. That guy was just walking his dog.
Toe-to-toe with him.
For Jill Stein over Harris in the new.
Right.
My values have changed?
I disagree with your assessment of that. It wasn't a word salad. She said the things she wanted to say.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Word ITP. By the
scumbag soccer gets some pushback from Crystal. I want to see it.
It says from Tyler ITP. By the way, we're taking these from our Breaking Points premium subscribers. You can become one, breakingpoints.com.
That Puffy is working.
Tyler JTP. On what policy question is Harris most likely to serve up a word salad? I mean, that one's easy for me. It's actually, I'll say, it's any one which is phrased in why did you used to believe X and now you believe Y.
Oh, see, I disagree, because she's ready for those.
No. Was she ready in that damn interview when she gave my values have changed?
I disagree with your assessment of that. It wasn't a word salad. She said the things she wanted to say. Right. There's just not a really good answer.
Yeah, I guess we talked about that.
It's different from a word salad, right? So I think that one she would be prepared for.
I'd say Israel.
I was just thinking about more.
No, Israel, she's
locked in on that. She's locked in on that.
The Palestinians deserve dignity.
It has to be something that she isn't prepared for.
Ukraine?
What Trump does with Israel.
She's going to be on
She's got to be on Ukraine side.
Yeah, she knows what to do.
Remember the whole Russia is a country. You know what I mean?
Man, he's really reaching. He's really reaching.
2016.
He's such a
You're totally right, because she flubbed first 100 days, didn't she?
She
in that interview.
First day.
I'm not a fan of soccer.
So we can't obviously say it'll be that one.
I really am not.
Around, but it would have to be.
It'd be funny if it was.
If they ask her about her core values, she's kind of fucked.
Oh yeah.
What do you most deeply believe?
What do you most deeply believe?
Word salad
She's
city. It's coming.
Really? I don't know.
I don't know. I should be president, obviously.
All right. If you say so.
That'd be a great one.
Like that.
Yeah. Which is such a basic question. I could see
but it's
her
a hard one.
word salading.
Maybe.
It's basic, but it is difficult.
It's a hard one for somebody.
This portrayal of Kamala as like, don't know who she is. She's got different. I don't know. I don't think so. I think this is. I think she has, like everybody, she has, like, when she's going in, going hard, she's got a mode. When she's chill, she's got a mode. I don't think, her core values have changed, but maybe they're referencing videos that I haven't seen, because I haven't bothered to go through, all the old Kamala stuff from the 2016 election, et cetera, old interviews. I've decided not to dig into that, because I'm a quality journalist. This is a serious organization around here, right? But no, I don't know. I just feel like we don't have much of a choice. You know what I mean? Like, it's Kamala. We got nothing. You know, I don't know. But maybe I should know more about her if I'm trying to. It's just like it could. I said it before. I'll say it again. You know, it could be Krusty the Clown. It could be fucking George Clooney. It could be The Rock. You know, it's like I'm not voting for the fascists. It's just not happening. So it doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to defend her, though. I'm trying to assimilate her. I'm trying to organize progressives to assimilate this entire neoliberal party. So it's not like I'm trying to sit here and defend her. Her website is filled with a bunch of cool things, a bunch of progressive taxation ideas that I really love. But I have my doubts that this neoliberal, creaky neoliberal establishment is actually going to respond. But I don't know. I mean, there does seem to be, at least on the surface, there does seem to be a clear difference between her and Barack Obama, and of course Donald Trump. But her and Barack Obama, and then not just the race thing, but I just like Barack Obama, constitutional scholar. Did some what was it? Not charity work, but civil service work in Chicago. But was basically cut his teeth on the incredibly corrupt Chicago political scene. Which if you haven't heard of it, the Chicago Boys. I mean, it's a corrupt. It's a great example of corrupt Democrats and how corrupt Democrats can be in Chicago. And Barack Obama came up in that. There might be an actual difference between him, even though they're both neoliberals, even though she's like, she had to say the right things to become a vice president, right? For status quo Joe Biden. So, there's a, she knows how to play the game, obviously, but her past is one of convicting criminals. Barack Obama's past was doing a couple years, civil service kind of stuff. And then, like I said, going through, cutting his teeth in one of the most corrupt political, democratic political environments in the country. I don't know. It feels different. I'm just trying to find some hope here. I'm just trying to find some hope. Voted for Obama, but there's a 0 chance I'd vote for Kamala. Come on with that bullshit. I gotta go Trump. I need a fascist dictatorship. Okay. I weighed the two options. I hand waved away Project 2025. That's not a real thing. I believe the grifters who tell me that that's not a big deal. I don't believe it. Go fish somewhere else for idiots. You're fishing for morons. You're not going to find them around here. All you're going to find is inebriated people, not stupid people.
Display like empathy.
I will say, David Muir is one of the only, if not the only, I mean, perhaps the only journalist in America that is still in the old school nightly news
Trump's
anchor
policy
model.
is just more solid.
I'm not saying that to suggest that he is impeccable and good and never errs. I am, though, saying he is a blank slate for most Americans. He sits in that desk and more than any other nightly news anchor delivers what people think is just like down the middle neutral news. He does that better than literally anybody in the media. So I can objectively worse,
especially if you are an immigrant or migrant.
Tonight in a way that Dana Bash was not.
Okay.
You mean the hard-hitting question about whether she was making pancakes and bacon when Biden
I don't care anymore. Oh, my God, I don't care. All right, let's check someone else out. Where are you at, Kyle? Come on. I'm shocked. Where the hell is Kyle? Maybe he's, like, just off stage and he's going to replace Ryan. Maybe him and Ryan are going to switch out, right? I don't know. Okay, come on. Is she gonna shit on Kamala Harris? Oh, this is gonna be great. Come on, Sky News.
And you'll be with us on the night itself. I mean, the election night itself.
Okay, hold on. Let's back it up.
Indeed, I'm joined now by the former White House senior advisor for President Trump, Omarosa Manigault-Newman. Thank you for being with us, and you'll be with us on the night.
They found one of 3 black people that were part of Trump's administration to talk shit about Kamala, and Sky News is clown world.
Well, Mark, I've been with Donald Trump on a couple of these debates and helped to prep him and advise him ahead of these debates. And tonight is a high-stakes night for both candidates. Now, a lot of attention will be focused on Kamala Harris's performance, and this is a crucial night for her. But as someone who used to live in California for 15 years and had a chance to actually vote for Kamala Harris,
can we get some MSNBC
I can tell you
going?
that she is equipped for this moment. Now, there have been moments in the last 51 days of her candidacy, it's still in its infancy, where we have wanted more from Kamala Harris. Well, tonight is the night
we're going to get
to deliver for
MSNBC's coverage too. We might get some Chuck Todd.
That
Thank
she
God.
explains her position. She clarifies those pivots, and some would say where she flip-flopped on certain key issues. But I've seen her in action, and I think this should surprise a lot of people who are
Hey, it worked with Kerry.
President.
Of course, the risk is that Donald Trump gets to define Kamala Harris rather than Kamala Harris defining herself.
N-word.
Yeah, he's not that disciplined. I mean, it'll be very surprising that if he's able to show any type of constraint.
She's been kind of...
he's angry that she is so close to him.
She's been a little unbiased, guys.
He's
do I say it?
And he lashes out, as you see, on his platform,
shitting on both
on
here.
Social. And so on this stage, asking him to remain measured,
Trump
calm,
don't get
and
that we not
disciplined
stupid
is a
around
very
here. We're just
difficult
high.
task for the president.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, of course, because you know, Kamala Harris wouldn't be standing on this stage had it not been for the last debate that we saw, the high-stakes debate that we saw that effectively pushed Joe Biden out of this race. I guess the question is, will Kamala Harris respond to the kinds of attacks that we're used to seeing from Donald Trump? And he will have, you know, a certain set of words, phrases. He will find ways.
He did basically beat, you know, a man, you know, 3 sheets to the wind, you know. But yeah, I think it's fair to say Trump did knock Biden out. I mean, that's undeniable. It sucks though, doesn't it? It hurts. Oh, whoops. No, Omarosa. No. Omarosa. What's the question? Hold on.
Is it possible to lay a glove on Donald Trump? I mean, he survives pretty much everything.
This is a good
impeachments, court cases,
like
the Capitol riots, numerous complaints of misogyny. I mean, he survives all this and carries on.
Biden knocked himself out. He kind of did.
The difference could be that Kamala Harris, may not be able to survive.
You know, it's not fair, but that's what happened.
Should it happen tonight?
Yeah, that's a really important point. There was a nickname that they used to call Donald Trump in New York. They called him Teflon Don because nothing would stick. And so we will see if, in fact, she can find his little trigger points. Now, Donald Trump does have some vulnerable points.
Make fun of his hands.
You've seen him lash out anytime
Make fun of his hands.
His ability to perform. If you question his wealth, for instance.
That'd be so funny. She goes in on the hands, dude. Yes.
If you question his ability to
Dirty
perform
Don, STD
at
Don.
the presidency, at his job in real estate or business. If you question his level of success, these are trigger points that he just can't help himself. He will lash out at her if she touches on any one of those issues, particularly questions about his wealth.
Yeah, I mean, Omarosa, when we think about the last couple of months, I mean, they have been extraordinary.
Omarosa kind of turned herself into, you know, a normal person. She used to be like an extremist, and she got burned by Donald too many times, I guess, and now she's right down the middle, guys.
Steps in, and so here we are. I mean, this really could go any which way.
It certainly could go anyway. And you know what? One of the things, Zelda, that I think that he squandered was the aftermath of that assassination attempt.
Welcome back, quick double
he
tap.
had the hearts of America praying for him
Trump
and
someone
hoping
in
that
check,
he
like
recovered.
against Biden.
And within
Okay.
48 hours, he squandered that empathy that America had for him. If there is some way that he can remind Americans that he did survive that harrowing account, then certainly maybe he can tap into some of their sympathies. But I don't think that that's where Donald is going to go. Donald is going to nail her on being the border czar. Donald is going to nail her on their withdrawal, right?
Which is hilarious because he literally wants to do the historically large mass deportation, kicking down the doors. He's literally called it bloody. And he's going to try to nail her on immigration. She's too hard on immigration. She's a cold-hearted bitch.
Donald is going to try to find these weaknesses that his advisors have tried to get him to remain and focus on. But in true Donald Trump style, I have seen that in these situations, he just isn't able to stay on track.
Don't make fun of my hands.
If he's able to do so.
I got big hands.
Tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, look, we may talk to you later.
Wow.
Possibly.
Hey, props to Omarosa, dog. I thought she was gonna. I still thought she was a right-wing extremist. Props to Omarosa. That was right down the middle. That was totally right down the middle. And you know what? Whatever. I'll take it. It's an improvement. I'll take it over right-wing extremism. I'll take it.
About triggering you. What do you?
Oh my God. Oh, is he getting triggered? You can tell because the shape of his head changes.
I remember how lonely it felt because we were when both of us did it. It was under the auspices of the Presidential Debate Commission.
Oh, look
You're
at that
solo
timer.
out there. You've got your back is to
professionals
in this
here.
giant room full of people.
This was a great idea.
There were
Thank you.
estimates of 100 million people watching.
Who came up with this
at the same time, it's such a privilege to do things like this. But you're getting people are leading up to it.
No, I mean, I was because you just came in. I believe you just came in, but I've been tuning into to Sky News, and it has been like comical, right wing. Trump is going to win. Trump's poll numbers are nuts. You can't believe this shit. Trump's going to slam dunk this one after the other. So that's what I thought Omarosa was going to be. So I was a little surprised to hear her right down the middle.
Before heading into a general election debate, because you are asking questions on behalf of the people who Kate was just interviewing, on behalf of the American people. So you want the questions to be understandable, digestible, not coming from Washington and politics.
Watch her get completely gish-galloped, walked all over. So fierce. You could have literally replaced Dana Bash and Jake Tapper with fast food speakers, connected to a couple sound bites. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the debate. Here's my question. They literally did nothing. Nothing. My name's Jake Tapper. Welcome to the debate. Okay, thank you for coming. I did a good job. And then the host on CNN, could you believe Jake Tapper? Oh my God, I'm rock hard. It was like, because you can't get anywhere if you're not. Oh, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, journalistic icons. It's an actual joke. I say that a lot. I'm like a Valley girl. I suck at this.
In the last 10, 15 years, it's become a lot more common to attack the moderator. I remember when you would never see the candidates go out and go after the moderator. I remember Newt Gingrich doing it in a Republican primary, I think in 2016 or something like that, and that was different.
Well, two things. You've got to feel the room, and it took me several minutes to feel the room.
I want to feel his head. Does anyone else?
Candidates. The other thing is, having done a lot of debates, including a presidential debate, I swore a long time ago I would never publicly judge a debate moderator. It is an incredibly difficult job, and my hat's off to anyone.
Yeah, you better take that hat off, bad boy.
Now, any criticism that you might be getting heading into the big night.
But you know exactly what their stomachs feel like 10 minutes away from the debate now.
I'm starting to feel those butterflies.
I know, having moments of feeling for them.
Thanks for all this. This was great. We'll take a break.
Not his
for
hair.
less than 10
I want to feel
away
his skull.
From the big moment as Kamala Harris and Donald Trump get ready to face.
Darth Vader died. No, so James Earl Jones, right? He was amazing in Roots. I think he was in Roots, right? I mean, there was just a bunch of like, you know, early 60s black cinema that he was part of. You know, his legacy goes well beyond Star Wars. Hey, honey. No, he's up in the jumper there. He could use a break. He's already had lunch he had lunch at about 4 o'clock. So, love you, baby. And my beautiful wife is back from work.
But the reason why many people continue to struggle with grocery carts is that over the past 4 years, grocery prices are up over 20%.
Yeah.
You are paying a lot more today than you were 4 years ago. For example, on a $150 bill in 2020, that same cart is now $182. That's $32 more at the checkout.
I love this.
And wages,
Federal
of course, do
on
outpace inflation.
Price gouging
that's
food.
good news.
I mean, that's
but
awesome.
this reality is still so painful.
And let me tell you something.
Now,
Let me tell you something. The tariffs, 20% tariffs on imported goods, prices will fucking skyrocket. It is a demonstrably terrible idea, tariffs, and he's going all in on the tariffs. Like it's a slam dunk without a doubt, like because he thinks, you know, from his side, we'll intimidate the suppliers, we'll put on tariffs, then they're going to lower the prices. And then no one's going to lose any money. You know, all my buddies, all the billionaires are going to continue to make incredible amounts of money. That is not what's going to happen. That is not what's going to happen. And it's just $20. He's just talking about food, man. He's talking about tariffs and all kinds of shit. He wants to slap tariffs on everything. It is a nightmare, absolute nightmare. This is common sense. This is a fucking nightmare for you and me, guaranteed.
President Harris has said she will pass the first ever federal ban on price gouging food that would bring new penalties for companies that exploit crises and break the rules. But there have been few details beyond how this would be implemented. Now, former President Trump has proposed 20% tariffs on imported goods, which would in all likelihood be passed on to consumers and increase the sticker price of those items. Economists are telling us they estimate tariff proposals would cost the typical middle-income household at least $1,700 more a year.
Madness.
I know, and Kamala Harris uses an even bigger number than that.
And let me tell you, it's universal too, right? It's going to hit the poorest of the poor. The poorest of the poor.
Will vary depending on your income level. So let's look at some example salaries here. A household earning $48,000 thereabouts a year. Under Trump, you'd get $870 more income on average come 2026. Under Harris, you would earn $2,260 more. Now, if your household earns $138,000, about that a year, under former President Trump, you would get $3,970 more income on average come 2026.
Man. It says it all, doesn't it? Says it all.
Under Harris, you'd get about $2,800 more per year. Now, per our own Money Watch team, economists say that under Trump, everyone's going to get a tax cut, but the biggest winners are going to be the higher income earners. Now, under Vice President Harris, the biggest benefits go to the lower income earners, and she would increase taxes on the highest brackets, Nora.
All right, Jolene Kent, thank you so much. Want to bring back in our policy with Ed O'Keefe. We have seen Vice President Kamala Harris begin to roll out some more policy proposals aimed at many of these voters she's trying to court.
Yeah, I mean, it was things like last week suggesting that she would try to modify tax breaks for new small businesses up to $50,000 from $5,000. All this requires Congress and requires a lot of conversation about taxes more broadly. There's the debate about whether you would tax tips or Social Security wages that both of them have waded into. Harris says she's for ending taxes on tips so long as the sub-minimum wage is also brought up across the country, because in several states it's still at like 1990s
I don't know all the
levels.
details, kissing Gonzo.
And so they understand in her campaign, at least,
but
they've got to be talking about dollars and cents.
Better.
It's those undecided voters, like the guy sitting there with Nicole Killian tonight, probably thinking about, you know, how much are groceries costing? How much could my new house cost? How much will the car payments be going forward? All of that on the minds of voters, and they understand. Look at our poll, look at everyone else's. He still has the advantage when it comes to who would better handle the economy.
Well,
it doesn't make any sense, though. It's a total lie.
White voters who are working class. And that's interesting because
We've gone into it many, many times. It is a complete fucking canard. It is a canard. It is a lie that Donald Trump's proposals are going to make the economy better, and that Donald Trump's economy, when he was in charge, was the best economy ever. It's so great, so fucking awesome. Remember that shit was blowjobs every day. It's like it's nowhere close to reality. And it was like a couple years ago, guys. I'm a stoner, and I still remember this shit. I remember pre-COVID, and I remember what he, what he and other right-wingers were trying to do. In Florida is a great example with, lifting COVID restrictions as quickly as possible, getting a lot of people killed. Texas as well.
These two nominees shake hands. That has not happened since debates in 2016.
This is what you're talking about. This is what you're talking about.
We'll see whether she'll be extending that hand first.
It's clown shit. It's just clown shit,
All
Doug.
right,
It's
Rita
clown
Jang,
shit.
thank you so much. Up next, the debate begins. Vice President Harris and former...
Here we go, Doug. Here we go. 2 minutes. Come on, girls! Hold on. Let me crank the volume.
Rock all night. Want that money? No more running around for you.
Welker to Hallie Jackson. I want to talk about how the vice president has cast herself in this campaign as the prosecutor, going against.
I love this song. I love that song. Metalocalypse. If you don't know what the hell you're listening to, it's from Metalocalypse. Watch it today. It's Roxo the Clown. He does cocaine. Bad Faith documentary.
Lay out in more detail what she wants to see. Yes, she's going to prosecute the case against Donald Trump on a range of different issues.
I want to make sure Kristen has unholy war democracy. Okay, this has nothing to do with the Bad Faith podcast.
Particularly when it comes to
Ken Burns
the issue
talks
of
about
abortion
it. Okay.
And reproductive rights. But again, she's got to walk that fine line.
Yeah, but she also has to answer for some changes in her own positions. Of course, she ran for president in 2020. She came across and positioned herself as a much more progressive type of candidate. Now she's really moving to the middle here in a general election.
Crowded primary. Right back in 2019, 2020, she has moved away from that on issues like, for example, mandated gun buybacks for automatic rifles, something that she no longer supports. Fracking, for example, something that she has changed her position on as well. You look at Medicare for All, a position that she's backed away from. Watch for the former president to try to go after some of these issues. And I'll tell you, to bring it back to the voters.
I gotta say.
It was super interesting. The economy came up again and again. This summer, for the first time, inflation dipped below 3% for the first time since March of 2021. People don't feel great about it right now. So how does Vice President Harris address that moving forward?
Let me briefly go there and talk about his physical performance. It's been noted by many that
this does feel consequential.
Tend to be more rambling,
disjointed
your own
shit.
Many of his answers.
I've never used that timer before. I didn't know it beeped.
Joe Biden. Is that something that
are we watching it here, or is it a React watch along? We're watching it here, motherfucker. We're doing this shit, man. I'm stealing this shit. I'm jacked into the Matrix. I'm broadcasting this shit illegally. It's pirate radio writ large.
Presidential debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and
you don't forget your own shit. You just might be
as we noted, this will be the first time these candidates have met in person, and it's happening on a debate stage. Also, the first debate since President Biden left the race over the summer, and Harris became the Democratic nominee. A lot has happened in a very compressed period of time.
Yes, it has, and we have a few moments until the debate starts. We will.
You had hours. You turned this on 2 hours ago. You could have talked about the poll. They mentioned the poll numbers 100 million times. Oh, they're so close. They're so close. They're so close. But that is it. That is the amount of substance.
A great nation again.
Oh my
face to face, historic. The ABC News presidential debate. Here now, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Good evening, I'm David Muir, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the left.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Lion 4273 was a massacre. My father fought so hard.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Oh, my God.
Welcome to you both.
Excuse me.
It's wonderful to have you.
Wow, it's happening. Okay, here we go.
Good evening.
No crowd.
We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
I'm not going to.
So let's get started.
All right,
I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children.
Okay, yep.
My passion, one of them, is small businesses. I was actually, my mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before.
Go on the attack.
Which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
All right.
Economists have said that that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
Boom.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that.
No,
we're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world.
No, they're not, Donald.
And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. They took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on.
Intimidation
when I
doesn't
had it,
work.
I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before.
Low energy?
Probably the worst in our nation's history.
Little low energy.
We were at 21%, but that's being generous
Extra
because
orange.
many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few
Lies.
years ago.
Lies.
This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that,
Yeah,
we have
protectionism does not work.
millions of
Yeah.
people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and
It's
insane
anti-capitalist.
asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with
You're gonna
towns
destroy
throughout the
unions.
United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently.
What?
These are the people that she
We were
and
talking about
Biden
unions, or
led into our country.
Oh, we're
and
now
they're
talking about
destroying our
immigrants again.
country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality.
The rapists,
and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast.
And he's gonna do
I
a mass
created one of the
deportation.
greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond
here we
on
go.
the economy.
Okay, here we go.
I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
Yes.
And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all, in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook.
Yeah.
A bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling.
There we go.
What you're going to hear tonight
Call 'em out.
is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former
Never heard
president
of it.
intends on implementing
He's, like,
if he
nodding
were
his head.
elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute to respond.
She's a
Number
little
one,
rough.
I have nothing to do, as you know,
She's
and
a
as she
little
knows
rough.
better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there.
Total lie.
I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This
It's
was
a
a group
total
of people
lie.
that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do.
I haven't
Everybody
read it,
knows
but
I'm
I
an open
know
book.
there's
Everybody
good and
knows
bad
what
in
I'm
it.
going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic.
Right.
And the pandemic was
He's gotta
not
keep
since
going back
1917,
to
where
the
100
economy. His
million
numbers
people
are
died.
best for the
Has there been
economy.
anything like it? We did a phenomenal
For no
job with
good
the
reason,
pandemic.
but that's true.
We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the
yeah, dude.
pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks,
It was a
we
total
did things
disaster.
that nobody thought possible.
There was
and
a
people give
mask
me credit for
shortage.
rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but
was a
not enough
ventilator
credit for the great
shortage.
job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people.
Going in
I am
hard.
offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy.
Yeah.
What the Wharton
She's still
School
a
has
little
said
rough.
is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would
Better than
increase
Joe.
inflation and by the middle of
Anyone
next
remember
year
Biden?
would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself
There we go.
than he is in looking out for you.
Nice, aggressive, on point.
Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan.
Not true.
And it's like 4 sentences. Like run,
not true.
spot,
That's
run.
not true.
4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Donald.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year.
No, it
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years.
He just said we're going to have higher
I was the
prices.
only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time.
Facts
People
don't matter.
can't
Remember
go out
that.
and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America.
Here we go.
He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency,
Here we go.
he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy.
It's literally
everything
nonsense.
that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist.
Just said he agrees
her
with
father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job. But the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine.
Really?
He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born.
He's not going in any other direction.
Okay, and that's not okay with me. Hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states.
Like last time.
And through the
2 minutes of uninterrupted gish galloping with no
and
moderators
and
just sitting there.
Of 6 Supreme Court justices,
Moderator,
we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, When Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban, because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter, because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to, because again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach.
The best
but look,
policy,
her
but
boss
it's not
went
a
out
total
and said, we'll do it again.
either.
We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. in all fairness. J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it, because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. It's wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond. But I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
There we go.
And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women, who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers, to go and get the health care she needs.
2 stories is good.
Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable.
Yep.
And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
He's looking weak.
Vice President,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask.
Thank you, kissing gossip.
Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay,
No.
would you do that?
No.
Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
the problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably
Okay,
after
there we
birth.
go.
Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions,
women are going to love this.
Who actually addresses the problems at hand. This. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
He hates that.
You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
I would like to respond.
Let me just ask you, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies.
She forgot her line, did she? I didn't notice that.
People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
No.
That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Now we're doing this.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you put.
We'll find out. You talk about extreme. You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney.
I'm going to drink some Beetlejuice
and
juice.
If you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit.
Yep.
His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you.
She's garbage.
When I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family.
Mike said he's not voting Trump.
They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. When somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far.
At the post office.
In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by by
Okay.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you have no problem using the U.S. military. You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah. It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow, and I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, Crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime in this country is through the roof.
Statistically
and we have
untrue.
a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference.
You tell them.
Has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
There we go.
And let's be clear. Where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page.
He's not refuting any of
on this same old tired rhetoric.
There we go.
And address the needs of the American people.
There we go.
Address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for. Address what we must do to support our small businesses. Address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
There we go.
Vice President Harris.
There we go.
Excuse me.
Nice.
Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies.
He brazenly talks about how he's going to do this.
Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me.
What are we
she
doing
weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy. With the fake Russia investigation that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking, because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking.
More fracking.
My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil.
People living next to fracking
had
operations.
The largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term.
There's thousands
my work
of oil
that is related
wells
to
untapped by
having
the oil
a
industry.
friend when I was in high school who was
wells,
sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare
Simply, Steve,
is based on long-standing work that I have done,
I've been
protecting
digging into
seniors
it. You
from
might
scams.
be right. I don't know what the deal is.
My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
That's tripping up a little bit.
Well, first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens.
He
and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction.
Total lie.
And I built it into many, many billions of dollars. Many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that.
If he did nothing with the money that was
given to him,
she's been against
it for 12 years.
Than he does right now.
Defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up.
None of these corporate
very
neoliberals want to defund the police.
Very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it.
Anyway.
She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now.
The other example.
If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out.
Oh, wow.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania.
Just like Obama.
If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar.
I wish,
but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get to.
environment.
We're out of time. Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack.
Yeah,
Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office.
Is he going to go Antifa?
You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
No regrets.
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar.
And now we're
she
back
doesn't
to
want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, "Oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet."
No.
That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? What are they going to be prosecuted?
Hello?
When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David. All over the world.
Time on immigration.
And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those,
Crime rates
when
are
are those
down all
people
over
going
the
to be
world. All the
prosecuted?
criminals
When
are
are the
coming
people
in.
that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle.
over
When are those
all
people going to
Seattle,
be
big
prosecuted?
percentage.
But let me just ask you.
You might ask her that question.
You were the
Dog.
president.
Have you
You
been
were
there?
watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret
January
about
6th.
what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond.
Oh, you coward! You are a coward!
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day,
Nancy was all over
the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital.
Yes, yes.
To desecrate our nation's capital.
Here we go.
On that
Here we
day,
go.
140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
Yep.
And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate.
People remembered this one
And
for
what
some
did
reason.
the president then at
Probably
the time
tiki
say?
torches.
There were fine people on each side.
All right, there we go.
Let's
nice
remember
attack.
that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia,
There we go.
the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by.
He's not really reacting.
So for
okay, there we go.
everyone watching who remembers what January 6th
I
was,
didn't say that. You fucking said that, dude.
I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
Yes, he did say that.
Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future. and not go backwards to the past.
She went a little off track.
Let me just follow up here.
She got back on track.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing this? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed. Those people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
That was the Lex Friedman interview just recently.
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all. I said that sarcastically. You know that. We said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which is what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it.
And said
they said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The President of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Come on.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, And world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
True.
I have talked with military leaders,
true.
some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace.
Yeah, it's true.
And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
She's got to go a little harder.
Let me just say about world leaders.
He's a liar.
Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men. They call him a strong man. He's a tough person.
No,
smart.
Trump, no.
Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up?
Okay,
He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look,
most
Viktor Orban
oil on earth
said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes.
No,
and
really
when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain.
40,000
Just
are
last
dead?
week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7th, Hamas, a terrorist organization.
Okay, here we go. Yep, Hamas,
slaughtered
October 7th.
1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert.
It was very bad.
Women were horribly raped.
History didn't start on October 7th.
I said then, I say now. Israel has a right to defend itself.
Yeah,
we would.
So tiring.
And how it does so matters.
Okay.
Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
How that's a
work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and an equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
Yeah.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
Kill them all.
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party
She
of
did
hers.
meet with him
She wanted to
in
go to
private.
the sorority party. She hates
Sorority
Israel.
party.
If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one.
Real rock
She
solid on
hates
those,
Israel.
bud.
At the same
Real
time,
good
in her own
record.
way, she hates the Arab
Nostradamus.
population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror, and they are spheres of terror, horrible terror.
Nonsense.
They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well,
Utter
actually.
nonsense.
They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it
we'll know
done
how you'll do
before even becoming
You'll hand
president.
over Ukraine to Russia like a punk-ass bitch is what you're going to do.
That's absolutely not true. I
Call
have
him out, Harris.
my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people.
Right.
He knows that.
Right.
He's
Respond
trying to
Ukraine.
again divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known
that's a
that
fact.
he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant.
Yep.
It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un.
There we go.
And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it.
That
That's
would have
weak
gotten
on
applause.
national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week. Said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it. Because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are.
On one
they're
topic
grossly
every
incompetent.
time.
And I just ask one question.
He's
Why
got
does
one
Biden go
mode.
in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over
Yeah,
Europe?
they're pro-Russia.
Because they're
Yeah,
weak and
you
they're
got 'em.
ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential
wow.
debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Damn, dog. Silence, stone cold silence. This fucking ghoul.
The ABC News.
She's a little
presidential
rough.
debate
She's a
will
little
continue.
rocky. All right, she's a little rocky, but now she's you know, she's on the attack. Donald Trump, I think, has been on the defense a good chunk of this debate. All right, let's hear what these goofballs have to say. What is this? Break? We want commentary. Break? Oh, okay. That's a big L. Hold on. Where's Chuck Todd? Everyone's taking a damn piss break. What's going on? Sky News. What? Does no one want to? No one wants to commentate. Everyone is just exhausted. What did you guys think? What did the chat think? I think Harris is doing okay, but I do think she's not knocking it out of the park. And if you know anything about politics, it's an unfortunate reality for people on the left in general, but for Democrats and neoliberals when it comes to this mainstream media machine, they have to knock it out of the park. They have to knock it out of the park. Crystal Ball, where's your husband? Where's your husband? Secular Talk, where's your boy? Where's your beach blonde baby blue-eyed boy? Wow, Secular Talk not doing a live stream. Maybe he's somewhere else. Maybe he's with Joe Rogan. I don't know. That is weird. All right, do I have NBC up here? Okay, yeah, that's NBC right here. Where's the commentary? Nothing. Chuck Todd doesn't have nothing to say. All right. CBS News. What's this one? Bloomberg. Let's see what we got. Bloomberg. She looks cool and calm to me. Yeah, I mean, she looks a little rough to me.
Next hour,
frankly.
we'll be joined by surrogates from both campaigns, including Republican Congressman Byron Donalds, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and Harris Wall's campaign communications director, Michael Tyler.
Thanks for joining us as part of our special coverage. That is where we begin this evening in Philadelphia.
Having to do with IT.
I used to watch a lot of Bloomberg.
Land Security and or the CIA or NSA have gone to Capitol Hill.
What a waste. Who is watching this? There's there's two people in this chat talking to each other. There's two people in this chat. Dude, I got more people in my chat than the fucking Bloomberg television. 2.16 million subscribers. Two motherfuckers in here, dude. Oh, that is funny. Welcome back, Cyber TTV. Like and subscribe, folks, unless you're a right-winger, then fuck you. Sky News, come on. Where we got Sky News? I want the commentary. What does Omarosa have to think about this? Have to think about this. I'm a fucking moron. But what does Omarosa have to say about this? Come on, give me some live action. Nothing. What, do I have to subscribe? Do I have to get a Sky box to watch the fucking Sky News commentary? No thanks. No thanks. I don't want a Sky box. You seeing the comments? Yeah, on Bloomberg? Yeah, I was looking at the comments. It was like literally two people back and forth. Everyone's taking a break. Okay, this is weird. I thought, okay, hold on, TYT. TYT has to be doing something here. Let's see what Jank and Anna have to say. Let's go. 420. It is 420. We should be 420.
Biden coming back that you want is so that you can beat him. Because
what is happening right now? They just have their normal show going. No shit. So I'm not paying, guys. Like, this. I don't know. Is this a model that works? This closed off model? Are there really people paying for these subscriptions? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like it's the winning model to block all this content off, to block all this these analysis and all this stuff, to block it off behind a paywall. Welcome back, You Win TV. All right, we're just waiting for the debate to come back here. Part 2. Like I said, I think Harris is really, really coached. She's really, really nervous. It's obvious.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
You think Melania's watching this? No. She doesn't give a fuck.
And Lindsay Davis.
She doesn't fucking
Welcome
care.
back to this historic ABC News presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight.
By giving up,
how exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question.
Is he going to go to immigration on this question?
To win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives.
I want to save
lives. Being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions.
Zelensky.
It's so much worse
killed by the
than
millions?
The numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more. because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people.
Grins from ear to ear, and Putin loves
you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left, I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him.
Harris,
he had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify,
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up.
No, he's got a point there.
Just to clarify on the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also, as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Give me the gold.
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Oh, yes!
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow,
to do this a couple more times.
And he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow much happier than he is right now.
Quiet,
but eventually,
please.
you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually,
all it takes is a
maybe
tyrant
he'll
to
use
flaunt a
them, and
nuclear
maybe
weapon, and
he
I
hasn't been that
fold.
threatening. But he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it.
We
but
talk
just
about
so
it
you
all the time,
understand,
bitch.
they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin.
I need to respond
and
to
she
this.
did.
Come on, Harris.
And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her.
There we go.
She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate as soon as they left. Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is, it has been about standing as America always should.
She looks really authoritative
as
on this.
a leader, upholding international rules and norms. As a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
You talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I wanted to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO.
Get more money
I
out
got
of
them
Europe.
to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan.
Good response.
4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did.
Good response.
And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war.
Good response.
And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are.
We're still technically
Donald
in
Trump,
Iraq.
when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker.
This is true.
Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down.
He bent over for the Taliban.
He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David. A place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers,
greatest
a lot
negotiation
of them,
ever,
with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump,
get immigration in there.
I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President,
awesome.
You recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care.
Now she's black.
I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
This is such an L.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
Here we go. Here we go.
You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember,
it's whitey friendly.
How Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual
he did that,
who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this.
Oh, she's stumbling.
Want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend.
Debate.
We see in each other a neighbor.
This is not going to change anything.
We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time.
Too many words. Falling back on this.
Can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people?
Too wordy, too whiny.
Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
All right, that's a good message, though. That's a good message.
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country.
Yeah.
And they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now.
Wow,
I built one of the
dude.
greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this.
Every single one,
She is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had. A horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad.
Yeah, this format
that you
really
can't
does
get away
benefit
with that.
Donald.
Your time's up, Lindsay.
I want to respond to that, though.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people.
That's a good point.
I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers.
Oh, all right.
That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump, we have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
She's so negative. To defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she has a plan to not allow fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else. That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need to respond because the former president has said something twice that I need to respond to.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on, Vice President Harris. President Trump, this is now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today.
Well, you didn't
fix
it,
what I said,
did you, Donald?
that if we come up with something, and we are working on things,
we're
going to do it, and we're going to replace
it.
But remember this. I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be? Never going to be great. Or do I let it rot?
Corporate health care,
and I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money, and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that.
He was not guilty,
and you'll be hearing about it in the
guilty.
not-too-distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run health care system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
All right.
As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said, at the time because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we, over the last 4 years, have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it.
Good answer.
And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice President Harris,
in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot of...
He made a mistake. Number
one,
they
let him do it every
John
time.
McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It was all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money.
Much better.
But
My
she
concepts
won't
of
improve
a plan are much
private
better.
insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need to be insured.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. Yep. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. Horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million?
Now we're on Hunter.
This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back.
Wow. Okay. He seems to have recognized that he was going back to abortion quite a bit. He has stopped doing that. This is weird that they're not using the break to actually commentate. This is the perfect time to interject with some stuff, but I guess they'll just save it all to the end. What do you guys think? I don't think the needle is going to move in any direction, unfortunately. I mean, like I said before, there was that hidden voter phenomenon during the Biden-Trump campaign where people voted for Trump, but they didn't really tell anybody. And, you know, the polls looked really, really good for Clinton. I'm sorry, the polls looked really, really good. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I wasn't referencing the Biden. I was referencing the Clinton-Trump presidential election. But the polls looked really good for Clinton. But then, of course, the reality was something else. I think that is happening, but in reverse. I think there's going to be a lot of people, like I said, that, you know, they have friends. They're, you know, they got buddies that they own a cyber truck with a Donald Trump wrap, and it's just awkward to talk about it. You know, it's just kind of awkward to bring it up. So they're just going to quietly vote Kamala or not vote at all. I think that's really what we're going to see is a lot of Republicans just not really bothering. CBN over here, that's the Christian Broadcasting Network. Let's see how pro-Trump these guys are. So godly, that Trump. Very Christian. Oh, okay. Well, fuck you. It doesn't matter that he's a philanderer, you know, that's raped women, that's raped his wife, sexual assaulter, grab him by the pussy. You know, we'll just ignore all that stuff because we think he's gonna end abortion nationwide, even though he has to lie to America, right? That's what they think. Oh, well, he's playing, you know, fifth dimensional chess. Oh, Fox News, let's see what they got going on. Yeah, okay, so the final, let's wait, is this ABC? What the hell is going on? Fox News is literally just broadcasting the ABC News presidential debate. Wow, what is going on with Fox News, dude? They're literally just restreaming the ABC News version of this. Well, let's take a look. I'm taking a look at the comments section over here. Oh no, Elon Musk, go President Trump. We need immigration talk before you close. Gotta vote Trump. Penis for Trump. I'm sure if Trump had the questions 1 month in advance, he would look a hell of a lot better than he is right now. Just making shit up, right? I'm with Trump. Where's Joe Biden? Well, he's in bed, dude. Joe Biden is like probably literally in bed. Trump. Colorado for Trump, Vance. One Kamala. Trump. Vodka. Harris took a week off to practice for this debate. How long will she need off practice in order to negotiate with other world leaders? That's a stupid question. She's already negotiating with world leaders. Is Kamala experiencing joy tonight? Not really. I think she kind of recognizes that she's floundering a little bit. She can't really seem to get out of her own shell, Kamala Harris. She seems to be kind of stuck in this rigid kind of mode, you know, and she really is being too gentle on Donald Trump. You can call him a coward, you can call him a defeatist, you can call him a liar, which I think she has called him a liar, but she needs to be harder. She needs to be harder on Trump.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Fox News literally just doing ABC's version of
David
this.
Muir and Lindsay Live Davis. From the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia. For closing statements and Vice
I guess everybody is. Okay, this is hosted by ABC. That's why.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past. And
switch this back over to MSNBC.
But we're not.
Sorry, let's switch this back over to MSNBC. They have a better mic.
And an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president.
Lemmy,
I've only had one client,
at that.
The people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay?
Good message.
And that's the kind of president we need right now.
Good message for the
centrist. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things.
This is your closing statement,
Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like We're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they laugh. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Negative. So
President Trump,
negative.
thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia.
So negative. Does that actually matter? Does that actually matter? All right, so let's see what the hacks on Fox have to say. He just walks off. I guess they both walk off, but he's just kind of like, Oh, there's this. Oh, yeah, Melania not there. Kamala Harris' husband right there to give her a hug. Trump just walks back into his fucking Jeffrey Epstein rape dungeon. I'm sorry, that was out of line. All right, I guess that's it. That's kind of a fucking wet. That was it. It started kind of lame. All right, let's get
administration's
some
position on the withdrawal in Afghanistan and immigration, of course. This is exactly what they wanted. The question is how they got
so we're going to listen to a couple of what these people have to say, then I'll give you my final thoughts.
People are going to be talking about this debate for a long time, and is this the final debate? Is this the only one we're going to see? Will there be another? Well, it depends on how each candidate feels they did tonight. Let's bring back our moderator, Meet the Press, Krista Walker, our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson. Boy, do we have a lot to chew over here.
Yes,
I mean, let's talk about, first of all, it does seem that Kamala Harris was trying to hit every trigger point she could think of to try to get Donald Trump to respond to her and to kind of fall in, to bait him into that trap. Do you think it was effective?
Well, let's just name a few. Abortion, January 6th. His former officials who are now critical of him. John McCain, which is a big...
All right, you get the point from MSNBC. Way too positive.
Called
Let's
every
hear
shot
what Breaking Points is
in
saying.
terms of what the topics, what the focus would be, what he would have to respond to. She maintained an affect of laughing in his face and rolling her eyes. He was pissed off and angry almost from the jump.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, I think for her, this was about as good a performance as possible. She was well prepared and took it seriously.
I think she could have done better, but
and I don't think that he took her seriously.
She didn't bite it.
And it showed. He took the bait on every, whether it was his rallies or his indictments or even the Central Park 5 or his net worth that he inherited from his dad. He was chasing after every single ball that she was throwing.
Yeah, let me pick up on that because I think this is a really key point, and it's one where I can see amongst our right-wing audience, the ones that remain and others, is there's a tremendous amount of outrage about the moderators and about ABC. And I think we'll talk about this, about
7 out of 10.
the fact that these moderators did interject multiple times to quote-unquote fact-check Trump. Many of the questions were, frankly, ridiculous in my opinion. Like, Kamala, have you ever met with Putin? It was like, come on, what are we doing here? Okay,
bless you.
Let's put that aside.
You're pathetic, soccer.
Complaining about moderators is cope when your candidate also did you had multiple opportunities where you took the bait, where you whiffed on the best answers, where Kamala, what I want to pick up on from what you said, was totally in control. Every single time it was her worst issue. She
He's a shill
puts a little bit
for
of bait
Donald
in there
Trump.
that Trump is going to pick
So
up
it's interesting
on,
he's saying
and he
this.
runs with it. The border section was infuriating to me. Watching and waiting. This is the part where Trump is leading on against Harris as much as Harris is leading Trump on abortion. And I haven't even mentioned Trump's disastrous abortion performance.
Yeah, we got that coming too.
We will have that coming as well. But actually, that's a perfect example when I put them side by side. On the abortion one, Trump is all over the place, giving the worst answers humanly possible. All the stuff that she's tried to do previously, none of it has worked. He doesn't try and bait Kamala or move the direction. Kamala brings up a border. The very first border question, she starts talking about his rally size. Now we're litigating rallies during the damn border section, and then during every single other one, which was very good for Kamala, or sorry, very good for Trump. Any issue area, Kamala lays as much bait in there as possible, and Trump takes it and he takes it and he whiffs it. He validates every concern that she drops of he only cares about himself by litigating his rally size instead of talking about the border, and litigating his inheritance instead of talking about, well, I don't even remember what that section was.
I think that might have been about her flip-flopping.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You are so you're right. That's what it was. It was about fracking and flip-flopping, and I'm sitting here losing my mind, being like, dude, what are you doing?
Okay.
And so, in general, yes,
interesting to hear this from Sagar. I really wasn't expecting this.
But you're just going to come across as a whiny baby. Only focusing on that when you went into this, you voluntarily accepted, and honestly, worse, even within that bad framework, they gave you a chance to shine where you could have if you wanted to. You've been in many biased debates before, and he screwed it. I mean, he absolutely whiffed it on every major issue that was best for him.
I want to get Ryan,
but
real quick, what that reminded
super
me
negative
of.
energy,
Remember the famous
rambling.
Newt Gingrich
Oh, of course.
moment
answers.
where John King asked him this question about
bragging about dictators,
his
bragging
wife
about
for
him.
an open marriage while she had cancer. And, I mean, it was a horrible thing he did, right?
Yeah.
But they open up with this question.
Right.
And Newt Gingrich goes in on the moderators and turns it into a great moment. If you're Donald Trump, you come in knowing the moderators are probably going to be asking her easier questions, might be doing a little fact check. Trump at the top of his game not only handles that, but turns that into an asset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a deeply wounded man. For
that
him,
comes across.
For him not to be able to let anything slide,
nothing,
even with the presidency in his
literally
grasp,
just changed something on their
the
microphones.
depth of insecurity he must feel in whatever soul he has inside of him.
Headphone users, R.I.P. Volume.
Your point is exactly right. They're talking about her flip-flops.
Right.
They're talking about the border. It's a 90-minute debate. These are going to be the rounds where you have to score the most amount of points.
Right. They're all tilted in your favor.
You're just pummeling her in these rounds.
He seemed wounded. I agree.
They're not leaving my rally earlier. Right. They don't even go to her rallies.
Yeah, they actually get busted.
In fact, they're fake. He went into the fake thing. They're paying fake AI people to go to her rallies.
He went into that? I missed that.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're like, what are we even talking about now?
Yeah.
I don't remember that it was actually
during the border section.
Flip-flop
During the border section, they were litigating Donald Trump's cases. What? Excuse me?
Right, because
excuse me.
She took the opening of him saying something about criminals
migrant crime.
To be like, let me tell you about criminals.
Right.
This guy right here, and of course he goes, all in, and same thing. The January 6th section was also disastrous for him because he gets asked the question.
Oh my God.
He gets asked.
No commentary from Fox. No commentary from Fox, guys.
By a landslide. In the past several weeks, you said, that you lost by a whisker and seemed to admit that you lost. No, I didn't admit that.
Yeah.
I was being sarcastic. I won by a landslide. And then goes in, the court cases, and they were biased, and there was so much evidence. I mean, again, spending time and energy relitigating one of the things people hate about you.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I generally agree with the analysis here. I'm actually shocked by Sagar. Maybe I should watch more Sagar. Maybe he's figuring out how bad his party is. I doubt it. He's really the type of guy that's never going to learn. He's going to, but I think tomorrow and throughout the week we're going to be surprised at how little this actually mattered. I think that's going to be the main takeaway.
Think back to how much fun he had at Hillary Clinton's expense, how much fun he had at Lil Marco's expense,
he was killing
how
Biden.
much fun he had at low-energy Jeb Bush's expense.
Yeah.
He was not having any fun up there tonight.
Biden. I don't even know if he knew what he was talking about.
His ability to play to an audience, play to a crowd, that is his superpower, and that was wholly absent tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And that's hard to do.
Sorry, Ryan Grimm. But no, so kissing Gonzo, the reason why I say that is that it's that double standard for lefties, for Democrats. Democrats have to, Barack Obama style, completely slamma-jamma, just absolutely, annihilate to really shift, right? Whereas the Republicans, they just have to not make a fool of themselves, look presidential, not look like a curmudgeon, so like Donald Trump failed on those. The bar is incredibly low, not just for Donald Trump, but just for Republicans in general. If they can just not look insane, they can often win the debate by perception. Let's see what MSNBC, Marco Rubio, don't make me do it.
What is your responsibility for that? I thought her answer on Afghanistan was complete nonsense. She was vice president at the time. Joe Biden didn't withdraw from Afghanistan. We were run out of Afghanistan. So on issue after issue,
liar. Wow, lie. It was a conscious choice. It was a conscious decision made. We were pushed out. Wow, he's a shameless lying. And don't you love it? No call out. They never get called out. There was some very, little bit. 9-month abortions don't happen anywhere in the country. A little call out here, but come on, man.
Answer pretty clearly. Do you wish that Donald Trump had done so more clearly?
No call out.
Well, I think he did. Unfortunately, like I said, look, I'm not one of these guys that likes to complain about moderators. This one was tough not to. I think it was really one-sided, and some of the fact-checking was wrong. There are, in fact, states in this country, the state of Minnesota, where a child born in a botched abortion is allowed to die, provided palliative care and allowed to die. So some of the fact-checking I thought was truly unfair.
Journalists, hello?
On balance, as people heard things about, you wanted to take away guns from people in the past. You wanted the Bernie Sanders health care plan. You wanted to ban fracking. You wanted to be bailed out, tried to raise money to bail out rioters in 2020 in the summer. These are new facts that a lot of people don't know about Kamala Harris that they learned tonight for the first time. And I think, as you've seen in the polling, a lot of 25% of Americans wanted to learn more about him. They learned more about her tonight.
All right, Senator Rubio, thank you for your time. We want to go to Kate Snow. She's been talking with a group of...
I don't know. It's not anyone's fault. I think, look, this was Kamala Harris' debate to lose, and she didn't. She showed herself to be presidential. She showed herself to be, mainly on point, little wordy, like I said, stylistically, obviously nervous, tripped herself up, repeated herself several times in a lot of her answers, was really only able to drive it home a couple times.
And Andrew.
Lies on both sides.
Okay.
Lies.
You came in all
Both
undecided.
sides. Sure, buddy.
Has anything changed your mind tonight? Is there anything you heard here that you thought, oh yeah, I could go for that policy. I could stand with that candidate?
Not really. For me, I think Kamala had a good debate. I feel more favorably towards her than to Donald, but I'm still not sure. Not 100%.
The two of you women reacted very strongly when Harris was talking about abortion. When both candidates were talking about abortion rights, you reacted strongly to Donald Trump and his positions. You seemed emotional about it, Hannah.
Yes.
What was your thought on that? What was it about that part of the debate that struck you?
His misinformation. He sensationalized just so much facts or not things that are not facts that have been disproven.
When he was talking
about, does it because that is what his supporters want to hear, and it really impacts who people like us, if we choose to vote for him or not, because we know you are lying, but you're still saying it, and it's disgusting.
You all said it was the economy going in. Andrew, anything you heard that changes how you're thinking about their economic policies?
No, because at the end of the day,
this guy drives the
December and November is going to roll around, and they're going to pass. They're going to say we're going to shut down the government, and they're going to pass an omnibus, and they're going to spend trillions of dollars, and nothing else is going to change. They're just going to keep spending money uncontrollably. Donald Trump spent $6 trillion in 2019 and added that to our deficit. So absolutely not. They're spending money, and then it's coming back into the government, into the congressmen, into the Senate, through funds, through PACs, through all the disgustingness.
Andrew, thank you so much. Hannah,
Thank you so much. Thank you. You clearly have a firm grasp of the financial situation of the country. Clearly have you got that. You know the problem. Look, I don't claim to be an expert over here on the economy. It is really complicated. Is there a lot of waste and fraud? 100%. But the government needs to spend trillions of dollars. You know, I disagree. I mean, I agree with the criticizing of the omnibus bills and the budgeting process in general. That's fine. But his conclusion is that we literally have one party holding the country hostage. The neoliberals never use the debt ceiling or the budgeting process to hold the country hostage. They never do that. There's only one party that ever does that. And we're just both sides. The lesson I've learned from this is that both sides are bad, even though it's exclusively one party that is using this process to hold the country hostage, to pass these ridiculous bills that, you know, include tax cuts for the rich, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's both sides, though. Okay, meathead, back to your fucking iron bowl, your fucking brazen bowl called a Cybertruck, right? Hopefully you don't puncture the bottom battery and trap yourself into a fucking death trap. Probably a little too extreme. All right, let's get just a couple more minutes from breaking points, and then I'll give you my final thoughts.
Is that there's this concept
Trailhead,
of like
you think
frame
so?
control,
Welcome
where
back.
Kamala was just totally in control of the frame constantly. So we're talking about the border. Oh, no. We're going to make a little thing about rallies that you're going to take. And then, oh, well, let's also talk about, you said migrant crime reminds me of crime because you're a criminal. And and he's like, wait, no, I'm not a criminal. You know, and it's like, what are we doing? No, you're supposed to be. And actually, that's
I was really expecting more criticism of her style, and I'm not seeing that. So I think that it might just be me overblowing
the discussion where he wanted it to go. So we have the perfect example here.
What about Trump,
guys? Let's go ahead and prepare D4. This is exactly what Trump is talking about. Trump is asked a question about the border.
Okay, Yeager, thank you for your opinion. I appreciate that.
In her border answer, she gives
let me know in the chat what you guys think.
A rally comment.
Who do you think
We were all sitting here at the desk, and I was like, here we go. He's going to take the bait. And then immediately, that's what he does. He focuses on himself, not on the issue. So D4, let's take a listen.
Okay,
and I'll tell you something. He's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual. And I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah,
he will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires.
You know, next time she had an opportunity to speak, she brought it up.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And then showing them in a different light. Yeah. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies.
I think ultimately it was a good thing that the moderator did that, because she brought it back up anyway, and it showed a little bit of balance, because they called out Trump like twice or even 3 times with a direct fact check, which they should do all the time, but they often don't, right?
We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation.
Don't just count the lies, count the eyes.
3.5 years ago, and what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns.
Maya Rudolph is going to bust out the hand on the chin. You're right.
I'm not going to be harassed by it. In Springfield, They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating.
She's laughing in his face,
the
man.
pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our
country. I don't know what's going on.
And it's a shame. As far as
tune into the News Underground. You found the right channel. You found the right channel. I don't know what's going on. This is the right channel for that. I don't know what's going on, guys. Hold on, my internet just took a big old dump. I'm getting doxxed. Getting doxxed by Trump fans.
As far as rallies are concerned, as
they're
far
eating
as
dogs,
the reason they go is they like
with
what I say.
fentanyl dildos.
They want to bring our country back. They want
about Haitian migrants eating pets, and he's not talking about. I mean, that's the other thing. Why do we have to do with the pets? Laken Riley. We all know Laken Riley's name. You could say that. You could bring up any legitimate case of migrant crime, and you're not going to get interjected with the moderator saying, "Hey, actually, we talked to the city manager or whatever of Springfield," and that they say that's not true. It's like he took the worst decision possible in every single moment there. But most importantly, Harris got under his skin and got him to whiff the answer on the border. Whenever did he even say border czar? I'm trying to think.
No, I don't think he did.
One time he said it.
The moderator instead is this one saying, Kamala, you were put in charge of the border. Trump, it's like complete incoherence. If you're watching that and you're a normal person who's genuinely concerned about immigration or the border or whatever, what did you get out of that?
Yeah.
And that's the question you have to ask here.
Quick fact check. The immigrants are not eating cats. They're actually children who identify as cats.
Oh, no. Okay. Transgender children.
Okay, there you go, folks. Finally, dildo has marketing potential, right? All right, there we go, guys. All right, let me give you my final thoughts here. Let me get a beat. I need some tunage. Yeah, beat. I want a beat. Walk it like I talk it. Oh, here we go. This is the, Perp Caddy. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Final thoughts. Oh, yeah. Final thoughts. I want to do a drive-by with my homies. No. So I've basically given you what I think here, but just to recap, I don't think this is going to move the needle. I think it's going to be frighteningly 50-50 the whole way. But I think the poll numbers are going to be this is another Hillary Clinton Trump situation. And I think the poll numbers, it's going to be inverse though. Whereas with Trump and Hillary, it was like the poll numbers are looking good for Hillary, but there were a lot of people that were ashamed of themselves to vote for Trump, but held their nose and kind of did it anyway and just didn't really tell anybody. And Trump was able to surprise people like with the actual results, right? I think there we go. I think it's going to be the inverse with this one, where, like I said before, a lot of wives to husbands are like, yeah, Trump, right? I bought the Trump flags, and I got the Trump Cybertruck, and I got the Trump thing on my boat, and I'm so Trump. A lot of wives who are like, I just don't want to fight, right? I'm going to vote Kamala. Oh, yeah, honey, I voted for Trump. Yeah, you betcha. I pulled that lever. You know I did. I'm just going to lie to my idiot husband because he's insufferable with the Trump stuff. He's made Trump part of his identity. I simply cannot get into this argument with this man, right? It's just to avoid it. And it's not just wives, right? Friends, family. It's like, bro, you got the Trump tattoo, you got the Trump shit on your car, you got the dozen flags hanging off the back of your truck, dude. I simply can't, we're not gonna have that conversation. It's fucking suck. You suck when we talk about Trump, right? Friends, family. So I think it's gonna be frighteningly close in the polls all the way to the end. But I think, and we're gonna be covering here on the News Underground. The election results coming in real time. We will be all over that. But I think we're going to be surprised. I think we're going to see Arizona go Democrat again. I don't think Texas is going to go that way. Michigan is going to go blue. I think Pennsylvania is going to go blue. I think Georgia, there's a real chance might go blue. I don't know about decisively, but I do think it will be without a doubt. Right. I do think the electoral count will be without a doubt, but I don't think it's going to be 290, 209, 280. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be like that. I think horrifically shamefully, there are tens of millions of Americans who are either aware of what they're voting for, of fascist dictatorship, or they want to be lied to about the reality of the fascist dictatorship that they support. Whatever the psychology is, I do think there are tens of millions of Americans who want to be lied to, that do think their life will magically get better if they just get a fascist dictator in there. And they don't think of it that way. It's all hyperbolic, right? Project 2025 doesn't exist. The statements that Trump has made about being dictatorial are overblown and hyperbolic, and he's just riffing, and he's just kidding. He's an all-American hero. He would never do that to the Constitution. It can't happen here. They're going to take that right to the end, right to oblivion. So I do. Those are my thoughts. I think Kamala is going to win. I don't know about decisively, but she is going to win without, it's not going to be like a 1-point electoral vote difference. I think it's going to be 10, 20, 10, 15, right? It's going to be like, okay, lockdown. Not going to be an Al Gore counting Chads kind of situation. It's going to be, yep, we know the results here. But I think the poll numbers are going to be 50-50 the whole way up. But we'll see. We'll be covering more of it. The next stream I'm going to be doing is going to be an all Ukraine stream. We're going to be getting deep into some really amazing videos. We got thermite flame-throwing fucking drones now. I got footage about all that. You've probably already seen it, but I don't care. I'm going to show it anyway. Yeah, Yeager. I mean, I wasn't impressed. It's the usual line. She had the audacity to talk about a two-state solution, like Bibi Netanyahu and Ben Gvir would even entertain such a thing. It's pretty ridiculous. If she was actually serious about solving this problem, she would have said something about, carrot and sticking Israel. But right, the election is too important for her to take that risk. So it's just right back to the bog standard line. We want hostage negotiation. We want a peace deal, and we want to talk about the two-state solution. Let's go ahead and ignore the fact that Israel, the people that run Israel, the government officials that run Israel, the parties that are currently in charge, the parties that are relevant in Israel have no fucking inclination whatsoever towards a two-state solution. It's actually insulting at this point to even talk about that. Bibi Netanyahu famously, for the last 20 years of his career, has done everything in his power to scuttle this. He helped create Hamas in the Gaza Strip. He helped divide and conquer the Palestinian Authority. He's bragged about it. It's covered in Haaretz. We've covered it all. It's a bog standard answer. But she mentioned it's not enough to move Gen Z. It's not enough to move Gen Z. If anything is going to move Gen Z, it's the climate stuff. Her response on Palestine is not going to inspire Gen Z to make any changes. They're not that stupid. And honestly, how important is Gen Z? They're not as inspired as they were with Barack Obama. There's no vote or die, get out the vote campaign that's like overwhelming. They're really just doing a lot of celebrity stuff, a lot of TV ads. But where's the nationwide get out the vote campaign? We're hearing Kamala and Kamala's surrogates talk about converting centrist, or mid-level conservatives, just like Hillary Clinton was, right? We're not talking about getting new voters. We're not talking about re-engaging other places, which is what Donald Trump did in 2016 and why he was so successful. Climate alarmism, great, yeah. So right, yeah, climate, yeah. The climate change isn't real. Yeah, okay, that's what you're saying. Mr. Earthworms, climate change isn't real. Alarmism, right? Tell that to Miami in 20 years, you son of a bitch. Tell that to dozens and dozens of island coastal nations that are going to literally have to leave their capitals because they will be underwater. Climate alarmism. What hogwash. Without a doubt and without hyperbole, climate change is the existential challenge of our generation, millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. I've been hearing this, and the climate has been demonstrably getting worse. You've been hearing this argument for decades. The climate has demonstrably been getting worse. The scientists who have been warning us for decades are 100% correct. And by the way, where's your climate degree? Are you a meteorologist? Are you some kind of scientist on this? Or are you just bumfuck Joe whatever? Doesn't know a fucking thing about climate, injecting a bunch of doubt on a subject that you really don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, people have been talking about climate for decades. Nothing's changed. Yeah, you're kind of making my point for me, dude. Yeah, like you don't trust the experts, right? Like you don't trust the experts, right? How many vaccines have you taken, you fucking loser? How many? How many you got in you, dude? How many you got in you? Oh, no, I'm a pureblood. I'm a pureblood. Bitch, I can tell from your spelling and grammar that you went to public school. And I know for a fact that you can't get into American public school without taking vaccines. Yeah. Climate, you're a climate denialist. And honestly, unless you are cashing a check from the fucking oil industry, you're doing the bidding of oligarchs that spit in your fucking face every single day. So answer my question here, Mr. Earthworm. Do you currently work for the oil company? Do you currently work for the energy industry in any way? Is there any real substantive reason why you're currently lobbying for this multi-trillion-dollar industry that fucks us over every single day? Poor people, middle class, upper middle class, even the oil cartels are making us pay out the fucking nose. We should, the price per barrel on oil should be much lower. So do you currently work for the oil and energy industry? No, you fucking don't. You gas station flunky. You fucking nobody. How about you quit doing the work of the oligarch and pull your head out of the fucking ground? Pretty pathetic. Climate alarmism. We have a garbage patch in the middle of the ocean the size of fucking Texas. We're consuming microplastics and forever chemicals in every fucking bite. You're done. See you later. Thank you. I've been wanting to push this button all fucking day. See you the fuck later.
Every day my block list getting longer.
Absolutely
bitch calling from
you.
a private number. Block your brother off of my gram. I block a bitch on my backup page. Block the shit out you on the trap phone. I block you on my MacBook Pro. Bitch, I block
this is the end of the stream.
Bitch, I block you on PayPal too. I block a bitch in real life. My block list jumping like Dwight. Bitch talking about take me off the block list. I support plus mode you to the block list. I get out my sleep, start blocking shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We got him. Yeah, that's pretty pathetic. That's pretty pathetic. Is there room for debate on what needs to be done? Absolutely. Is there room for debate on it existing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's exactly what that fucking shill was doing. Climate alarmism. Oh, that's pollution. That doesn't mean climate change. Gaslighting, injecting doubt, trying to use sophomoric debate techniques. I gotta go, dude. I got a kid sleeping. I gotta go. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I do appreciate it. That's been the debate coverage. That was the debate. Big props to Kissing Gonzo, Simply Steve, Ice King of Space, Clutch Cargo, Smash, Jaeger, Golden Ratio, Lenny, Rebel Phoenix. Who else in here? Kissing Gonzo, you've been nice. Rox Fist, thank you, Rox Fist, for coming back in. Arbitoire, good to hear from you. Big Room, your boy Lenny, #1 chatter on Twitch, your boy Lenny. Wave Last, I guess he left. Trailhead, big props to you. Thank you, Trailhead. Oh my God Sticks, thank you, Oh my God Sticks, for coming back. Clutch Cargo, big props to you. Clutch Cargo, you win TV. Thank you for all your comments and opinions about the debate. We had one Trumper in here, Trump 2024, and then he just left. Oh, that's adorable. I didn't even need to ban him. Okay, who else to give props to? Chrono Stampede, big props to you. Thank you for coming back, Chrono Stampede. Your boy Davey, your boy Chem Goblin, Woke Patriot. Big props to Woke Patriot for coming back. Thank you so much. Hope you had a good time, everybody. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Glory to the Ukrainian democracy. And let's not forget the only solution to all these problems. That's political activism. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, sign up, put your name down. And step 3, put in the work because you're not a bitch. How about instead of getting on random political Twitch chats and injecting a bunch of doubt into hard fucking rock solid climate science, how about instead of wasting your fucking time on that, you actually look at the real enemies, the enemies of the middle class, the enemies of liberty, the enemies of freedom, economic freedom, but also personal freedom, human rights. How about instead of wasting your time working for an oil industry that would piss in your mouth, how about you actually inform yourself about what the fuck is happening around you, Mr. Earthworm? Jaeger, that's a very wise statement. I like that statement. All wars are civil wars because all humans are brothers. All of mankind. We appreciate it once again. We'll see you very soon. Probably not tomorrow. I got a funeral to go to. We'll see what's up. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East, y'all. Thank you again. Perp Caddy, y'all. News Underground, bitch. Abandoned nihilism.